from Geek Girl here, Otakus and Geeks. I am with Sean and Jero, and I have some cosplay guests with me today. This episode, we're going to focus on cosplay. A lot of people see the beautiful side, the fun side, the pretty outfits, and all the pictures and like the parties, but they don't know the dark side and a lot of the things that people actually go through in cosplay. So some of the topics we want to talk about are elitism, gatekeeping, bullying, sexual harassment, rumors, equality, photographers, favoritism, jealousy. There's a lot. So I'd like everybody to introduce themselves, and we'll get right into it. Oh, first, Jero, you wanna plug in?
Yeah. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Icon. Again, you can check me out on YouTube at Red Eyes Entertainment. That's Red Eyes with a Z. There, we're currently going over WandaVision, and we're also doing reviews for Batwoman as well. Both shows are going really good. We have a lot of good reviews and conversation for both. So let's just keep it going as we push on to episodes 3, 4, and beyond.
All right. I have a bunch of cosplayers with me today that I chose because I've known them for a while, and getting to know them, I feel like they're real, they're fun, they don't care about followings and unnecessary like drama. I feel like they're themselves and they just like to have fun, which cosplay is supposed to be about, having fun. We're adults. We are grown ass people wearing costumes, but we are still adults. Who wants to start?
Anybody start.
All right, I'll start. I'm Chris Carthern. You can find me on IG as Cosplays by Shinobi or Shots by Shinobi. Cosplayer, I produce indie movies, and I'm an activist.
Jake, you wanna go?
My name's Jake. You can find me on Instagram at Jake_cosplays. A cosplayer, starting to do photography now, so maybe I'll take your pictures one day.
Ava?
Hey, I'm Ava, Channel 3 Cosplays, cosplayer, and now studying to be a photo editor. So
I love that. Everybody's like combining their artistic talents. And Renee?
Hi, I'm Renee. You can find me on Instagram and other platforms as codename Citadel. And I'm repping Magic Wheelchair. They're an organization that does kind of creative builds. They're a nonprofit for kids in wheelchairs. So think like big dragons or, animatronic stuff. So very cool.
Aww, I love that. See, that's what I love too about people in cosplay that legit do these things. There's a lot of cosplayers out there that like to give back to the community, and that's really important, having a platform and using your voice to do good. But this one, unfortunately, this episode is about bad. So I guess we can get right to it. Do you guys, because I want to go about this in a very realistic way without, I don't want to like target people. I don't want this to be about bashing anybody. I don't want this to be about making anyone feel like they're a target or uncomfortable, but I want this to be a platform where people can speak on things that people are scared to talk about in public, because being that maybe I don't have as big a following and I'm scared that people are gonna be upset with me, or whatever makes you feel uncomfortable or comfortable. I want everyone to feel safe here to speak about what they experience in cosplay. Does anyone want to start? We could jump right into like, I guess, elitism and bullying.
So whoever wants to go in, because some of the questions I have is first, what experiences have you guys gone through that have been negative with cosplaying? Because all we ever really see is the positive part of cosplaying. We see the fun, the thing that they show on the news and on social media sites with cosplaying, never any of the behind the scenes stuff. So if anybody wants to start jumping with that, let's go.
I think when it comes to the bullying, a lot of the stuff you see on Instagram comes from people who don't even cosplay. I would say like 80% of it from what I see on Instagram is from people who've never cosplayed, don't do it, probably a troll account for the most part. So I don't think a lot of people in cosplay even will openly critique one another. They'll say it in a group chat, they'll say it in a DM, but they're not going to openly come out and say it because they don't want the hate that's going to come from that. That's from what I see when it comes to that. with like bullying comments and negative comments. Generally, it's more like in the DM or a group chat, you might see somebody say something, but never so openly like in an Instagram comment. Those are people who really don't cosplay, who will say things that are racist comments or, oh, why is this girl not doing this, or any of those comments that are controversial. People generally don't cosplay are the ones who I think put that out there.
That's a
Yeah,
really
because
good
like,
point. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, because cosplayers know what it takes to, get a good photo shoot going, how much it costs, the work you put into it, the makeup, the wigs, all of that. So a lot of times, yeah, it's not cosplayers, it's just people going, oh, I saw someone else do it better. That looks kind of cheap. It's like, it's a whole world that they don't understand. So the easiest thing they do is just go in and troll in the comments.
Yep.
And
Or
then
why didn't you do it
racism.
this way? Your
Yeah,
wig is off.
exactly. Yeah, it's like, well, you've never worked with like Warbler or foam before. It's hard, people are doing their best. No need to bash them for doing what they do. Everyone's like learning at their own pace. They're doing what they like to do. So I don't think cosplayers are gonna, openly go, oh, I don't like the way that looks. That's just not gonna happen.
I mean, have you guys ever experienced like, you've done a group cosplay and let's say like you guys do a great job. Everybody's like, okay, but then you get another group of cosplayers that see your photo shoot and have like the most negative things to say about it.
Yeah, it happens. It definitely happens more often than it should, because I feel like a lot of people are just jealous from a feeling of not being included, and they're like, oh, you guys did that and I didn't get an invitation. Like, you can do it yourself. Nobody's stopping you. You can get your own group of friends and do the same exact thing. Nobody's stopping. It's cosplay. I don't own a role. We can all wear the same exact thing, and the only thing that's going to change is the energy you bring to it. So I mean, if there's things I've done with groups where we've done positive things and other groups of cosplayers hate on it, and it's like, how can you hate on people doing something positive because you're not doing it? So instead of doing something positive as well, you're going to take that energy and turn it into negativity. So now you're defeating the whole purpose of us trying to do something nice, and now it turns to a beef. I just, like, where's the thinking in that? It's like, it has to come from jealousy. There's nowhere else. You're mad because you're not doing it yourself.
Yeah, I would agree with that as far as the jealousy. I haven't personally heard it, but it's like hearing things secondhand. Like I said, it goes down to like DMs and private conversations. And I would say you have certain people out there that, like you said, thinks they own the character. And they think that they are the Iron Man or they are the Black Panther and there can only be one. And we're dressing up as fictional characters. We can all enjoy the character the same way, but you have some people that are like, no, that's me. I'm that guy. For some reason they identify as that character, and they're the only ones that are allowed to represent it.
I mean, have you guys ever come across or had to deal with somebody saying to you, like, "Oh, you can't be that character because that character's white, or you can't be that character because they're black, or they're Asian, or you're doing this"? Has anybody ever gone through that? Because I've heard about some stories like that. I'm like, that's just stupid. The character can be whoever it is. Whoever pulls off the character better. You're just cosplaying the character.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely that's happened. Especially when it comes to like anime cosplays, people love to gatekeep us like, oh, that character's not black. But I'm like, well, I'm black. So whatever I dress up as is gonna end up being black. But best thing you could do is just honestly still do it. Who cares? They're gonna comment anyway. I'm still gonna kill the look, so I'm still gonna do it regardless. But that definitely happens. I don't know what it is about having a character exclusively look like that character, because you can switch it up, you can mash it up with something else, you could gender bend, like it doesn't matter. As long as you're just having fun, do what you want to do.
I have a question though, because a lot of people, because like you guys were saying, like you see a lot of things in comments and you see a lot of things in DMs and on social media posts. Have you guys ever been in a situation, or have you witnessed a situation where, whether it was someone else in the cosplay community or someone who isn't, basically giving a cosplayer a hard time, like live in person, just for what they were doing?
I don't know about in person. I feel like there's been a few times where we would like back each other up. Like, let's say if we saw like a hateful comment, like we would all get on that person. Like, you don't know what cosplay is. Like, how about you build something? Like I feel like we would back each other up. Like, that's one positive sense of the community where like if somebody was like let's say shitting on like Ava or something, like we would like comment and be like, oh, Harley Quinn can be anybody, asshole, you know, like stuff like that. Like it
Yeah,
happens, but I don't know about in person.
I'll give you a good example. Funimation posted a friend of mine. He did Goku. His thing is Zamasu cosplay. He happens to be a black cosplayer. His Goku's phenomenal. And of course, the comments, you know what they were like. Goku's not black, but Goku's not white either. Goku's a Saint. He's an alien. Like, Goku's
Yeah.
not Japanese. Goku's not white. He's a fucking alien. Like, what do you mean he's not? The anime characters, that's where it blows my mind, because I do a lot of anime and I'm like, these characters, you can never be canon because you're not an alien. You're not Spike from Cowboy Bebop, where he's not even from, like, come on. How are you going to be canon Sailor Moon? You're not a magical girl. You're not from a different time. You're not even the right age. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
You know what I mean, though? You want to be that canon, how? But I'll be honest with you, as a cosplayer, I do feel like, and I'm biracial, and I still feel like there's certain cosplays I won't touch because of the hate that I get. Like, I love Killmonger, badass, but I would never do it as much as I would love to. I just wouldn't, because I already know the comments.
but I don't see any reason why you can't. I mean, comic books, like for me, comic books were a way for escape for me. Like, I did a lot of things in high school, from sports to whatever, but I used to love coming home, sitting back, relaxing, reading a comic book and going into that world. So to me, it doesn't matter what like if you cosplay the character right, that shouldn't be an issue. That shouldn't be a problem with anybody saying, okay, well, you can't be Killmonger. Why? But it doesn't matter. Does his cosplay look correct? Did he get it? Did he get all the details correct? I mean, they sell wigs for hair. I mean, with Killmonger, you can get the artificial makeup to make the dots on his body. I mean, there's nothing you shouldn't be able to do. I mean, if we all remember when Titans came out on the DC universe, people flipped because Starfire was black. And I was like, but she's an alien and her skin is orange. So does it really matter who plays her? And why are you flipping out? Or with Star Wars, people flip because Finn was a black stormtrooper. I mean, you don't even see what was under the stormtrooper's mask most of the time. So that doesn't matter either. So I don't understand why people flip out most of the time about skin tone. Because the one thing I used to love saying about Comic-Con and the whole comic book, anime, and the whole geek community is that they're not racial. They're just there to have a good time. And as time went on, I found out that's not exactly true.
Yeah, I would agree. I do also think that sometimes it can be an issue when people say, did you do a character right? I've seen some great iterations and people put their own spin on their own characters and they all look amazing. It doesn't have to look exactly like the character does in the movie or in the comics. Everyone can cosplay their own way. And I think that that's something that people don't understand outside either.
That's a great point that he makes about the whole canon thing, because this community, I'll tell you one thing. The use of the word canon is very toxic in cosplay. It needs to stop. Because to say someone is canon means that you're saying everything about them is accurate, meaning that, so let's say someone is doing Naruto and he happens to be a certain skin color. So because this character is the same skin color, which they can't change, now they're canon, which makes them better than another one. So now she can't be canon, he can't be canon. Why can't they just be a great iteration of the character? Why do we have to use the word canon to be exact? It hurts the whole point of cosplay being cosplay. It's really toxic to us, and we don't even know how toxic it is as cosplayers to use that.
When did you guys actually realize that, though? Because obviously there's the moment where you decide that you want to be a cosplayer. And this is actually a question for every single person. When you went to your first Comic-Con, your first event, your first whatever it was, and you said, this is going to be the very first time I actually put on a costume, I assume everybody had a thought in their mind of how they thought it was going to go. When was the moment where you actually realized, like, wow, there's actually sort of like a dark, toxic thing going on here? Like, when did that realization actually kick in where you're just like, oh man, like, what did I just get into? What did I just get into?
Social media.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like conventions, like at least like back in the day, some of us have been cosplaying before, like before Instagram existed, like just for like fun. And then like, just going to cons, you make friends. Like I met all you guys at cons and stuff, and like it was like a really fun experience. Like, oh my God, I love this character. You look amazing. Like, that's how it should be. But on Instagram, it's like war. And then like Jake brought up a really good point. Like, it's most of the time not even cosplayers that are talking shit. It's like simps and fandoms and like crazy people that are like, oh, you look nothing like this character. This character's not Hispanic. This character's not fat. Like, this character, like, and that's the shit that gotta stop. And like, yeah.
Yeah, I think if you're a real fan of any character, you should want to see it everywhere on all different shapes and sizes and versions of that character, because the more people that are backing that character and showing up, whether it's in a shoot or con or social media, that's the studio's putting more money and thought and storylines into those characters. So the more Black Widow cosplayers I see, I'm like, oh, I want to talk to you. I want to hype up your post. I want to understand like what you love about that character, because I love that character. Like, let's keep bumping that up. So the fact that somebody would want to own a character on their own or tell somebody you can't do that character for whatever reason has never made sense to me. You're hurting your own fandom at that point.
Yeah, I've had people ask me like tips about Harley Quinn, and I'm like, hell yeah, girl, use this makeup, use this,
Exactly.
like, do it. I can't wait to see. Like, Harley Quinn can be anything. Like, there's so many freaking versions of her. So when people ask me, I'm like, that makes me feel happy. It makes me feel excited. Like, oh, you actually want my opinion?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Anytime I'm asked about anything, I get asked about A-Train a lot. I like look forward to seeing their iteration of A-Train. Like, I want to see more of that.
Okay, we have somebody else that just joined in.
Hey, Rebecca.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
The question we were talking about, what was the question, Jarrell?
It was what was your first negative experience? Like when you went to your very first Comic-Con, you did your cosplay for the very first time. At what moment did you realize there was like a negative, like dark, thing involved in being a cosplayer?
I realized it when I joined the first big group that I was in, probably, I guess, 2017, 2018. And when the owner was using all the cosplayers to make money for himself on the side and then disappeared on everybody, didn't pay them for something that he promised. That was when I really realized, all right, this is not as, you try to do something kind and you still get screwed. Like, how?
And so how many people have gone through that? Like someone is doing a magazine, because I've heard of this like maybe once or twice, like guys, well, I have another question after that, but like people have gotten together to do something and then somehow either the photographer, and I think Nadi was telling me about that, the photographer doesn't come through with stuff right away, or the person that was supposed to put down the money or do whatever just like disappears, take the pictures and tries to make. How many of you guys have actually gone through that?
I've heard it happen quite a lot, actually. Even recently at the last con that we were really able to go to, KatsuCon last February. I know people who shot with the photographer. I won't name names, but they still haven't got their photos back.
Wow.
Man,
and this photographer is active on social media.
Did they pay for those photos?
They paid for the photos. The whole group did, and it was like 4 or 5 of them. None of them got the photos back. But they also, I'm like, well, have you guys did you press the photographer? And they're like, yeah, we asked, but whatever. I'm like, no, did you press them? Because it's like a year almost. Like, you got to be a little more assertive, especially in this community, because we all come from, I think, a background where a lot of us are used to loving these shows and the comics, but having no one to talk to about it. So we come to the cons and we think everyone's like ourselves. Oh, crap, you like this too? We're going to be friends now. We like the same stuff. That must make you and me cool. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything, because this person is still another person outside of the con where they came to, where they're full of joy. You have to see them out of the con, where they're not in this excitable state, where you see them for who they really are and how they really act and treat people. So you can't go to the con and think, oh, I met my best friend day 1 of the con. We're going to hang out for the next 3 days together. You're going to be let down.
No, that sounds about right. Also, some of the things I've heard is that photographers only like to shoot like certain women, and that's one of the things that kind of bugged me out, because in the beginning when we first started the website, we used to look at a lot of stuff and I used to be like, yo, dude, like like there are a lot of women with that are like with a lot of healthy body parts that they like to shoot the entire time. Like that's all you saw at one point. I didn't even see like cosplayers like of a different, like in different costumes. I just saw like the most top open cosplay. I'm trying to be PC about it. I'm trying to say like the most top open
We call it
Come
TNA
on.
photography.
yeah, like, and then I'm like, you know, either somebody's wearing a thong or somebody's wearing like a top that is just completely revealing, and I'm like, that's all you really saw. So, and I mean, it would take like the purest character and like really like smut it out, like, and then that one character gets like 50,000 likes in one shot. But then I'll see somebody who did a really good costume of a character where I'm like, damn, they put all the detail into that character. Even some characters, when they glow and they have lights, they'll put that detail in that character. That person will get like 300 likes.
I was gonna say that's like a point that I wanted to bring up with like also like sharing pages and people in the community themselves showing more support to their actual friends, because that happens all the time. Like I'll see like a lot of sharing pages share the same females, like the same, not to, like I said, not to cast judgment, but the same, like, you know, big figured or like sexual overly cosplays, and like always like maybe a white female or an Asian female, and like it's Black History Month, but all the Black cosplayers are gonna pop up now. It should be all year long. It should be fat people. It should be skinny people. It should be white people. It should be Black people, all year long, all the time. And like that's one thing that the photographers too should be held accountable for. Like I'm not telling people what they have to post. Like that's their business. But if somebody's paying you, you should show the same respect to people. Like I'm not, like I said, I've done shoots where I've paid the same amount and I never got photos back because the big titty girl walked in.
No,
And like,
that is a huge problem. The first con I went to, one of the first cons I went to as a photographer, and I went with a friend that was a photographer, and I sat there. He's watched him take pictures, literally back to back to back of big titty women. That's all he was shooting. And I was like, yeah, she's dope. He's dope. That's all he was checking for, and that's why I try to support, like, the share pages I actually support are the ones that share everybody. It is pretty equal, and it's not like one type of person that they're sharing.
Yeah, because once it hits Instagram, it kind of just becomes a competition. It comes like what sells, what gets the most likes. So there are a couple of feature pages, like I'm biracial, I'm Hispanic as well. And there's some, you know, Latino sharing pages that do not show Afro-Latinas or do not show bigger women. It's always like Eurocentric looking women. And it's just the same thing with photographers. If I'm going on your page and I don't see anyone who looks even similar to me, I'm not booking you. It's just it still happens. It's really sad.
I think.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I think too that if you are not part of, like, sort of like what you were saying, Nadia, if you're not part of society's definition of like pretty, then you don't get like the same kind of benefits that those kind of people do if you're showing off your body, and if you have, like, I don't know, that kind of face. Maybe I had actually another cosplayer say to me, "Oh, you pay for your pictures? You pay for your shoots? Because I don't pay for anything." I'm like, yeah, I pay for them. Like, what? So I think it's not just the photographers in that aspect. And again, not to knock anybody's hustle. If you could get pictures for free, I mean, that's great. But I also think that there's people that like kind of take advantage of that system for themselves. And I don't know if that kind of behavior would ever change that that thing from happening. So, and there are some photographers that shoot for free anyway, and like that's totally fine, you know, whatever. But again, it's just what I had to say. So
because we actually have a photographer with his Otakus Geeks. His name is Young. He's really good. Young doesn't, like, to my knowledge, Young doesn't charge anybody. Like, he's there for the fun of it. You know, the only thing he asks is that you share his pictures and his watermark is on it. And that's it. I mean, he's done a lot of, like, we've taken him to a lot of cons, and he's gone there and he's shot a lot of people and didn't call them and say, "Hey, I need money for this and that." He would be in a hotel room with us, sitting up at night editing, and then back at it the next day. Right. And I used to say, "Damn, Young, you know, that's a lot of hard work." I said, "You know, you should one day they should be paying you for it. He was like, I do this for fun. And, you know, like, I'm pretty sure later, if somebody asks him for a private photo shoot, he requests money.
Yeah.
But, you know, when he goes to the cons, it's just there for the fun and actually for the fun of our site.
Right.
You know, so, I mean, there's a lot of things in cosplay that I've actually found weird. Like, there's a point where I see somebody doing a cosplay and then they're like, oh, if you want to see really good photos of me, subscribe to my Patreon or OnlyFans. And I'm like, well, I'm not going there to pay for that. Like, if you're not putting it out there for me, I'm like, look, whatever you got going on in that, listen, make your money. I'm just not gonna be one supporting that.
Well, where do you guys think like this group of people came from? Like, do you consider those type of people actual cosplayers, or do you feel like these are people that just realized they can make a quick buck and get a quick hustle out of the situation, so they've kind of infiltrated into the cosplay world just to make money and leave?
There's a big market when guys are constantly commenting on your pictures, how sexy you are, and all these crazy comments these girls get. It's almost like, how can you not blame them? Like, if the guys weren't commenting and begging them to see their toes and all this stuff, they wouldn't even have the market. So if you didn't have simps, you wouldn't even have e-girls or anything like that, because there would be no market. We created the market. It's our fault. It's all the males' fault for creating the market to where now it can be taken advantage of. Everyone living in their mama's basement, playing on PC games, watching anime. Thank you, guys.
I wouldn't say it's just male's fault, but to kind of play devil's advocate here, like earlier when we were talking about pages that only show a certain type of, female or color or whatever, for them, maybe that's their brand because they know that's what's going to get them 50,000 likes. If their page is strictly, girls with giant boobs and they share a picture of me, it's going to get 50 likes versus the 5,000 likes. So of course, if I want to shoot with that person, I'm going to have to convince them, hey, like, I'll pay you whatever it is. I'll share your watermark, whatever, but I understand I'm not going to be shared on your page. So like, I think of it as a more realistic view in the world where everybody has their own brand. And if it's an individual, we shouldn't be mad that we don't fit into whatever the brand is that they're selling. And yeah, absolutely. Anybody who can make money off of what they're doing, I'm not going to shade them for that. That's probably how they fund their actual cosplays. So, none of us are billionaires. We're all just kind of doing this from our own pocket money.
The market's there and it's legal. You can't, you can't knock it to the full extent because it's not like it's illegal,
Right.
Yeah, look, listen, I don't knock it. Me, I just sit down and say, listen, how in this world, however you can make that amount of money. And I mean, I've heard outrageous amounts, like, some people are coming out with like 30 grand a month. Listen, if you can do that every month and get somebody to pay for it, do your thing. I still got to get up for 9 to 5 in the morning. So,
I understand that, but if you're a person that spent time, effort, and money on building a Wonder Woman costume, and then some random girl shows up wearing like Wonder Woman thongs, and like everybody's giving her all the attention, like, you're not gonna knock her hustle, but do you consider her a cosplayer? Or do you just look at her as somebody who just kind of like infiltrated and is taking advantage of of a certain community in a situation?
I think that depends on, to an extent, why you cosplay. For me, I like to craft. I like to put outfits together and whatever. I'm not too much into the more lewd stuff, but if I don't get the attention that I wish I got, like, oh man, I built this amazing cosplay, why am I not getting the attention? I have to stop and say to myself, you know what, I'm satisfied with the job that I did. And even though like other people might not be recognizing that, I'm recognizing that my peers around me are, oh my God, Rebecca, that looks great. And sometimes like that quality over quantity for me is what like plays into my feeling of personal satisfaction and success. But that's just how I feel, I guess. But I think it is hard sometimes, especially with social media, like not to get fixated on, oh my God, they got 50,000, I got 2, or 5 or 50 or whatever, or, oh, it's like not doing good, but their Wonder Woman's doing great, but I think at some point you have to step back and say, I'm satisfied with the job that I did, and I'm happy with the truth that I brought to the character. At least that's how I feel for me. So.
And look at who's liking the photo. There's thousands of guys from Indonesia who like these girls' photos a day. When you actually look, a lot of people from different countries, and they're from the same countries. You know, it's not like it's a bunch of girls liking their photos. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah. And when you look at like pop culture in general, you can see why it's popular. You look at comic book characters. How are they? They're big boobs. They're, you know, scantily dressed. It's you know, they are creating this market and they're taking advantage of it.
Yeah, no matter which community you're in, there's always going to be like Instagram influencers, TikTok influencers, where, you know, maybe the bare minimum might get them 1 million views, and like a whole suit you build may get you like 100, 200. But there's always going to be people who appreciate what you do. And that's the part of the community that I like to align myself with, because they're here to build everyone up, not just looking for, you know, the most views. So it is exactly like Rebecca said, it's whatever you're looking to get out of it, which most times is just someone to talk to who likes the same stuff, a creative outlet, and just straight up having fun.
No, that's why I did it. I just like to go out there and meet people and have fun. You know, I always tell somebody, listen, I want to meet other grown people who like to run around and dress up like 5. So,
Yeah, someone who will speak like about My Hero Academia for 3 hours with me, which I can't find anywhere else. So these are the people I'm going to do.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah.
true.
Is the market big as far as like female photographers? Because you guys are saying like, because every time I hear a conversation about photography, it's always like this guy is always looking. It's like, but do women not take photos? Have you guys ever come across female
Honestly.
photographers?
There's a handful, but like
Yeah.
a handful. Maybe I can't even name 5 off the top
Yeah.
of my mind, telling you the truth. But guys and creepy guys, I can name like 30.
I want to do like a whole topic on that alone, just like
Yeah.
the photographer community, because like there's some people that do it, like you were mentioning, Sean, that do it for the love of cosplay. There are some people that do it as a business, which I respect also. But then there's also some people that are just like, let me buy a camera and call myself a photographer so I can go take pictures of half naked girls.
Dating
Like,
service.
those are the creeps. But that brings me into like the next topic, like sexual harassment, because that happens a lot in cosplay. Is there anything you guys want to touch upon or that you've seen or experienced?
Yeah.
That's one of those things where it's hard to, because even if I know the full stories, even if I have the proof, if it didn't happen to me, but I know 8 stories of people it happened to, I can't say anything because I'm going to out somebody. So what do? All I can do is sit there and hope that one day somebody else speaks up who it happened to, and this photographer stops shooting. That someone else has to, you know, cut off the poison, because if it didn't happen to me, then I'm outing someone's business, and that's not really fair either. So sometimes you just sit there and watch, and it's like, what else can you do?
I mean, sorry to cut you off. This sounds like it happens more to women than it happens to guys,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
really can't see, you know, like a guy complain. I'm pretty sure it has happened, complaining about sexual harassment. So for the ladies, like, what do you do if that happens to you? Like, you know, especially like for one thing, let's say this photographer is like really popular, like in the cosplay community, he's kind of like a god to everybody. Like, is it hard to bring up something about this guy without anybody? And I've listened to stories where people like bash the person bringing the truth out. Is it hard to do that? Or I see a lot of, yeah.
It's going to start a war. There's going to be a war. You're going to have people coming to the defense of photographers, some people attacking the woman, and vice versa. It's never going to be a clean, anything clean. Never.
And I feel like, oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, I feel like it never fully gets resolved too. Like it
True.
blows up for like 2 or 3 days, and then it kind of just fades away, a la Thanos snap. So it's like nobody's held accountable. Nobody is like nobody remembers, or they choose to like forget, like, oh well, I'm just gonna choose to forget that and still work with this person, or like still openly endorse them. And it's like, I mean, I guess you have to make your own decision about who you want to work with. But I see, like, I know that there are people in the community that are, you know, not good and whatever. And I see people still endorsing them after overwhelming evidence that they are creepy, or they are, you know, they're bad toward underage girls and things like that. And it's like, you know, you can't really, it would be hard for me to continue working with somebody to like that, especially openly endorsing them.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't feel right about doing something like that. because I'm friends with underage girls. Like, why, or girls that are like younger or, new to the cosplay community, why would I want to put their con experience and possibly their life in jeopardy? Wouldn't want to do that.
And as far as like cons go, also, like, I try to recognize when women are uncomfortable, because there are times where people think they can just touch you or hug you, and literally they'll come up to you and just hug you. And I know for a fact I have some friends that don't like it at all. Like, they never don't, even if you ask, and I try to, intervene, say something, but that also is an issue as far as like harassment goes.
Or if you intervene, it seems like you're a hater, like you're trying to stop them from. I'm like, but some people have personal space. Don't touch them. Like,
I seen that a lot too when it comes to girls touching other girls at cons. They will go up and grab a girl right by her ass. No problem. Oh my God, you look great. Squeeze. And then the girl looked at me like, and I'm like, if you're uncomfortable, why don't you say something? You're just gonna let it keep happening? Like, why didn't you tell her, hey, I don't like that. Don't touch me there. I don't really play like that. And I feel like people at cons, they just don't speak up. They just let things happen and let it slide. And because fear of whatever, not wanting issues, not wanting to be stigmatized, ostracized, just, it's like there's a lot of people who let trauma slide like it's okay. Like it's not gonna mess you up later or be a problem later. Because if I'm a cosplayer and like a Wonder Woman and someone comes up and grabs my ass, I don't think I'd be okay with that. I can't see how people really would. Even if in public, damn, like, come on, no respect.
I've heard of
Then you have some weirdo
female cosplays to do that also.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I forgot who it was, but I think some guy mentioned that, like, a girl just randomly like grabbed him, like his crotch or something. Like,
I've been grabbed taking a photo, 100%, and I'm like, come on, what are you doing? Smack the hand away. What are you gonna do? Let it happen?
I think it depends on your own personal fight, flight, or freeze response, especially if you're in like a crowded environment. If you're the only one in a big crowd, like you don't have anybody to look to for support, maybe you're not brave enough to say something. Maybe those words just don't form in your mouth. Or maybe there's, pictures, like speaking from personal experience, on your page of you hugging other people or, touching other people in a cosplay shot. So that makes anybody think, oh, I can just touch her. She's totally cool with that. Well, no, maybe I've known that person for 10 years. Like, I don't know who you are. So I'm coming from a place of, I don't always know the right words to say to get somebody to stop what they're doing. And I'm not always brave enough to say it. So, and that works in photo shoots too.
I mean, for me, like when I went to when I recorded my first Comic-Con, like I did video and I did photos, and this was my first experience. Like I didn't, first time going to Comic-Con, I was nervous. I was actually afraid to ask people if I could take their picture or if I could interview them while they're in their costume. And one of the cosplayers, she actually came up to me and she said, hey, were you looking to take people's pictures? And I was like, yeah, I could take your picture and interview if that's okay. And then she looked at me and said, with all the money and effort I spent on this costume, she's like, of course I want you to take my picture. And then that actually like made me feel better because then I was like, yeah, like, why would you not want somebody to interview or take your picture? And then like, it made me comfortable, but I was very cautious at first as far as, how to approach, because I didn't know the protocol. Like, I didn't even know it was a community. I didn't know it was a thing, like until I walked in the door.
Yeah, just asking is always better. Because you have people that will take pictures of you when you're eating or you're like changing, trying to fix something, and it's, come on, bro. Like, why? You see me eating this hot dog.
Like, right? I don't know what it is. Like, once you get into cosplay, people stop thinking you're a person and think you're a prop for some reason. But no, always ask. If I'm shooting with someone I've never shot with before and like we're doing something together, be like, hey, is it okay if I put my hand around your shoulder? Like, just always ask. Just straight up with anything. Always ask. And then, for the girls, it's okay to have your boundaries. Like, you don't have to be nice all the time because people will take advantage. Keep your boundaries. You don't want someone randomly hugging you. Just say like, hey, I have COVID. Don't touch me. Thank you. Like something.
And if we've never like spoken in person, but you've seen me on Instagram, like, of course I'll be nice, but like, don't be a creep about it. Like, we've been best friends forever. Like, be like, hey, like I've seen you on Instagram, like if you see me at a con, but like don't try to like hug me or like, you know, something weird if we've never physically met in person or something. It's kind of
At that
weird.
point, it's important to set your boundaries because you know there's weirdos in this community and you can't avoid them. They're gonna come up and say hi. So if you don't set the boundary, they're gonna try to cross it. No matter, like, they're just gonna try. So you have to do something, even if it's just like, hey, nope,
Like,
that's
hey,
enough.
nice to meet you.
Yeah, like, hey, nice to meet you. I'll give you a fist bump. You know, I don't do hugs. I fist bump. Tell them, hey, I fist bump. That's it.
Yep.
Don't do hugs.
Yeah, every once in a while, I feel like guys who do that, like every girl they meet there, like they hug, and I feel like they go home and sit in their basement and just sniff their shirt, like, oh, because I'm like, Jesus, get help, man. Like, yo, if you need some contact, go make friends. Like, do something with yourself. That's
And
what.
when you're wearing foam armor, you don't want anyone to hug you and mess up your
Right.
armor.
Exactly.
No way.
I've seen some cosplayers at cons where they refuse to take pictures unless they're in a cosplay. And I was like, oh, that's a really good line to draw. Like, if I'm just in a t-shirt and I'm not in a cosplay, like I'm not this person, like I'm just trying to enjoy the con, please leave
Yes.
me alone. But if I am in cosplay, absolutely take as many pictures as you want. So everybody's different.
I had somebody first name me at a con once, like that I had never met before, had no idea who they were. They're like, hi, Rebecca. I'm like, who are you? I'm like, what? Do I know you from somewhere? They're like, oh yeah, from Instagram. I'm like, what? It was a very jarring experience. Definitely not like the worst thing that's ever happened, but also it was just very strange because, you know, people usually, I feel like they use like your Instagram username or whatever, but like for somebody to just be like, hi, Rebecca.
And when they have no photos of themselves on their page, like,
Oh, I don't like those.
Yeah.
come on, dude, you're gonna come say hi to me. I don't know, Nightwolf 372. Like,
Seriously.
you know what I mean?
Like, if you don't know my government, don't talk to me like that. Just shake my hand and be like, hey, I'm a fan of yours on Instagram.
Yeah.
How,
Yeah.
you know,
You.
I used to think it was really weird that cosplayers had like other, you know, human names as their screen name that wasn't their own name. But then I realized that's why they're doing it, because at a con, if somebody yells, hey, Lindsay, but her name's actually Emily, then she knows it's somebody that's just following her page, not somebody that actually knows who she is.
True.
I think that's actually smart.
Yeah.
like, I feel bad for y'all because I would not want to go through that. Like, if somebody got on my Instagram, hey, like, whoa. If you don't know me, like, either get to know me or don't talk to me at all. I'll just shake my hand. People.
I know if I get crazy messages, I know the women get messages that are just ridiculous.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. Have you had like the people trying to ask you out? I'm like, no, I don't know you.
I'll get a message saying, "Hey, Chris, it's been a long time," and it's in my what is it called, I'm not following
Like a
them,
filter inbox?
so it goes in, not even the general. It's just waiting. It's just waiting, and I'm just like, they're talking to me like they just know me, but clearly we're not following, or I'm not following you. So it's just this message just goes to this, but they're real familiar with me.
What's the craziest message you guys have actually got? Like,
that.
Jake and I got a phone call once. We got called by somebody. I don't know how they found our phone numbers. And
He's got issues though. He has mental issues.
Yeah, but
like your personal phone number.
My personal phone
like,
number.
it was like a kind message. He was like, I hope you're doing. It was like the weirdest thing. I was like, bro, if you ever call me again, we're gonna have a problem.
Yeah.
Like, don't ever call me again. Don't ever call either of us again. And he called 3 other people I know through Instagram, and I told him, you need to stop because, like, you can't do that stuff. People are not going to be as kind as I'm right now about this. There's going to be someone who's going to be like, you contacted me, and they're going to freak out, either call the cops on you or you might get hurt. Like, not everyone's going to be so understanding.
Wow. Anybody else? Somebody call first. How did they get your number? That's the thing. I'm always like, where you get my number? Like, I try to keep mine private. So how can you find me and give me a call?
I've gotten rape threats in story posts and DMs.
What?
It's very common, unfortunately.
What the fuck?
like, I'm coming to this con and we're gonna have sex. And I was like, don't know who you are. No, we're not. But
That is so scary. Oh my God.
God.
most of them, it's like a faceless page. Like you were saying, it's just
Mhm.
pictures. And then they'll delete it and start another one and say the same stuff over and over again. It's just like,
So you got people really crazed out, like they're off their meds and trolling like that. I mean, I just don't.
I know people who literally have been off their meds at cons.
Wow.
There's many of them out there, especially New York Comic Con. Oh, it is the worst. It is the worst.
Well, my worst experience with New York Comic Con is that some people don't understand the value of water and soap. So for 3 days, for me to have to identify the smell while I'm walking through there, that's not. Sometimes I have to go outside because I don't want to. Like it gets. We all know how crowded New York Comic Con gets, and I
start
should
looking around for Swamp Thing.
for real. And that's bad. I mean, here's something that's really weird. I know somebody who's a friend of mine who does cosplay. Have you guys ever run the photographer who doesn't know his own odor and he's right up on you?
And they go to show you the pictures and then they like, oh yeah, and they raise their arm and you're just like, oh, whoa, I can't look in that lens because I need a gas mask.
like
What's happening?
I feel like Venom, like my costume is receding now from the smell coming off of you. Like that's wow. I can't. First of all, I like you get ready to go out. You're gonna be to a crowd of people. Like, please, just like wash and brush your teeth because
it's more of a cosplayer thing though. There's more cosplayers who don't know how to shower than there is photographers.
Oh, have you got
suits, people?
Oh yeah, wash those bodysuits, those Spider-Man
Wash
suits.
your
Wash them.
cosplays.
Wash them.
Wash your cosplays. If you can wash it, wash it. Rub your underarm of your Spider-Man cosplays because you stink.
We're here. There's a product called like odor removal. Febreze makes one. Spray it.
Plug in.
Spray the suit every day. Please God.
I feel like this should be a public service announcement before, like, you know how like they come out and everybody's sitting together and they're talking about like a serious message. I think they should have that message for people who like, please, when you're coming to a con, just wash this deodorant instead of having like a station for sanitation. Have like a Febreze station for anybody there. Just help out.
That would be fantastic.
Oh my God.
Your spider senses that would be tingling.
What do you think about the people that walk around with the free hugs, free hugs? That's kind of creepy. That's
called weirdos.
Well, see,
COVID.
Yeah.
No.
When that shit starts, you stay over there.
See, I experienced that the first anime con I went to, and this was the weirdest story we ever went through. We went to Boston Anime, and we're walking through and we're taking pictures of stuff and we're interviewing people. And I come across a group of people who are in a circle and they have a bottle in the middle. And I'm like, yo, who's playing spin the bottle in the middle of a con? And I stopped there for a second because I'm like, I got to see how this plays out. And they're spinning the bottle, and it wasn't spin the bottle in the way we thought of as kids. It was spin the hug. So if the bottle hits you, you have to hug the person that spun the bottle. I'm like, why are you like, this is what we doing now? These were, I don't want to say they weren't. Some of them look like they were over 21. Like that's what my thing is. And why are you spinning to hug somebody? Like, I didn't get it. I just, after about 2 or 3 spins, I was like, all right, I gotta go because this is just weirding me out while I'm standing here. I'm like,
weird stuff at cons.
Especially at anime cons.
Yes.
And I happen to like anime cons.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, there's something. There was something weirder than that I saw at Katsucon, but I'm not gonna say that on this podcast. That was something I would just tell you guys. That was the worst experience. It wasn't a bad experience. It was just one of those things. Was like, I'm not going to that, and that's that. I don't care what press event I'm not going. Like, yeah, it was that bad. It was. Just take my word for it. Like, it was that bad.
I think the weirdest thing that I saw at an anime con, it was a group of girls who were dressed up in anime costumes, but they were promoting their Twitch. And I asked one of them, I said, what's the whole thing with the Twitch? Like, what do you guys do on the Twitch? And then she said, men pay us to go on dates with them or to have like dinner with them. And I was just like, why would someone pay for that? And then she was just like, oh, because she was like, because they get to sit with us, you know, and have like lunch or something. And I was like, okay, but how does that benefit me? I was like, I didn't understand the point of that, but it was apparently it's a popular thing. But that's when I first started realizing, like, wow, people are actually like making money off of this. You know, like it's not just something that they're just doing for fun and, you know, like for excitement.
Yeah.
Hustle.
Got
I just said that's their hustle.
it's definitely not something I'm doing.
They
Like,
have a whole account for it.
I mean, we did an interview with somebody for I think it was in the city, the Maid Cafe, like where guys come in and the girls call them master and they sit down. And I was just like, okay, well, if you want to go sit there and do that, like to each his own. I'm not,
That is at every anime con. There is like a portion of areas. KatsuCon have one as well, where people go and the line is longer than you ever will think it is.
Sounds like something in Japan.
I mean,
It's Japan.
yeah, that's where it's from. But I mean, I understand from their culture because there are a lot of people who are single and lonely and scared to talk to people.
Yeah.
But I'm not scared to go talk to somebody. So I'm not gonna pay to sit down and have dinner with me. Like I'll just go home and eat by myself. It's not that serious. But I guess that's what it is. I mean, I guess this is where the culture has come to that people are more in tune to being online than they are sitting and meeting people, because I think people that's how people value their lives with Instagram. And I think that's why a lot of cosplayers have issues. Like, has there been like a darker side where somebody felt like they didn't get the kind of likes they want and they get depressed and they decide that like life is not worth living because they only got like 40 likes on something they've done? Like, is anybody going through that where they kind of felt down about themselves because
I don't know if I've seen anything fully suicidal like that, but I have seen stuff that's dark where it's like you're clearly looking for attention, writing really dark personal things about yourself. That why are you telling all of Instagram? Put it on your close friends for 8 people to see. Why do you want 5,000 people to reply to you about this? Like, there's like a mental disconnect where like maybe you need therapy, not Instagram to know all your personal business. You know, like you're clearly looking to provide something that's missing. And how do you think Instagram and a bunch of people saying, oh, I'm sorry that's happening is gonna help? But like I've heard and I've seen statuses that are like a call for help. But I wouldn't say it's because of like the likes that they're not getting, but it's like they're clearly using their Instagram page to cry out for something or just attention. There's people who do it just to be malicious.
Yeah, I was gonna say that kind of brings me to my next topic of like when should things be kept private? Because like I said, not to bash or bring up specific things, but in the community there is a lot of unnecessary drama that has become public when people should just handle things one-on-one or privately, because this is when other people get involved and then get their friends involved, and then more bashing starts happening and more hate starts happening, and then everyone's a bully. So it's kind of like, what are your guys' thoughts on keeping things privately and handling things differently? How can we address these things?
I've seen people get to the point of suicidal with that, like the mass cancel culture of, you know, somebody has some issue between them and another person, and it, instead of it being between those people, it's who can gather the biggest, loudest army the fastest. Start saying, unfollow this person, they're terrible, they did this and that. And you don't know, like you have no idea what actually happened between the two of them. It's so easy to fake screenshotted messages and say, well, I know this person and they're saying this person's bad, so they must be bad. Like you don't even know what it's about. So I've seen people get that way where it's like, I'm using my, you know, however many thousands of followers as a weapon to take this person down.
And that recently happened, and there's something that recently happened, and one of the people I was following, or friends with, sends me a message. Hey, I know that you're following this person. I'm gonna unfollow everyone that's not following this person, that's following this person or associating with this person. And I was like, I don't, whatever the situation is, I don't know. I don't have the detailed situation. I'm not about to not unfollow this person. Or if you want to unfollow me, you can unfollow me. But unless I have the actual details or I was a part of this, it's really hard for me to get involved in that.
And it can get dangerous.
But she put me on the spot. Just hey, I noticed this. What do you want me to do?
Yeah, because you also don't know who's following you, and sometimes people, will take things too far. You don't want people getting doxxed. It can affect people's careers outside of just cosplay. And like a majority of the time, you see these people beefing, and then at the end, after a week of all people, chiming in, you always get the, oh, I spoke to this person privately and we squashed it. That should always be the first step. Like, just go straight to that. No need to put on your story. No need to tag, a bunch of people, get this side, that side, this side. It's always just makes it so much of a bigger mess.
Yeah, it's like we don't know the whole situation. There's always 3 sides to a story. So it's kind of like it wouldn't be right of me to get involved in anyone's business, whether I know you or not personally. Like, it's not my place, because now I'm just making things worse.
Right.
And unless you were physically there, or it happened to you, or you're the one that made it up, you have no idea. Like, you have to take all of the information with a grain of salt. You can listen to somebody, especially if they're your friend and they're hurting and they've felt victimized, but it's not your job to assemble an army with little to no information about what actually happened to protect your friend. Then you're just a bully too.
Yeah, it's like we need to learn how to use our voices, not to say positively. I'm trying to find a way to word it, but use our voices responsibly, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I think everybody should use their platform responsibly. I don't think a lot of people do use their platform responsibly. They, has there been like a lot of cliques and bullying in the cosplay community? Because like people just tend to, just like anything, like people tend to click up and then they'll go after to ruin another one person or group of people out there
all the time. I was just gonna say it's very hypocritical. Like, one of the things I want to address later is cosplay editing. I want Rebecca to kind of chime in on that. But cosplay editing has become a huge thing now. So back to that point, but I just feel like there's a lot of hypocrisy in cosplay, where it's okay for one person to do something, but it's not okay for someone else. So just because someone has a big following doesn't make it okay. And if someone has 200 followers, they can't do it or they get bashed for it. The same rules should apply to everyone, regardless of followers.
And what is cosplay editing? Like, anybody want to elaborate? What is it?
Okay, I guess I'll start. Cosplay editing, it's another form of trying to find a way to word it. Like, it can be amazing. Don't get me wrong. It can be amazing. There are some edits that are beautiful. It's a craft. It's a craft in itself, just like photography. Like, where, let's say if somebody has a really dope cosplay and I add on like a really cool background or like fire or something. But there has been in the past people that have been blasted for editing their pictures. But now everyone is starting to do it. So my whole thing is, when is it okay? When is it considered cosplay? When is it just Photoshop?
Yeah, because there's a cosplayer too who they did get put out for stealing another artist's artwork and throwing their face on it and being like, oh yeah, my edit. And then when they get called out, it's like, oh, why is everyone bashing me? Because you're claiming you didn't even tag the artist, the original artist. Like, you're claiming this is your work. That's you're stealing then.
I think that anytime it's that kind of situation, you should absolutely give credit to the original artist, because otherwise it's malicious at that point, in my opinion. It's like, you can't just be like, oh, I forgot. You have to like try to really think about that. And if you don't know the artist, just say artist unknown. If anybody knows, please let me know. Because you also don't want people then coming after you. Oh, you didn't post the artist. You don't need that. But also, I feel like it comes down a lot to your personal preference for what you want to put out. I mean, editing a background is amazing and cool and everything like that. I guess if you have other pictures of your cosplay without that, it's even better, because then you can see like, oh, this is what it kind of really looks like, and without all of the special effects, so to speak. But there are also some people that are so hung up and fixated on like being the most authentic version of something that they could possibly be that they're willing to either change themselves or change their whole photo to like actually like be that. And I think that there's a time and a place for it. I won't lie, I love doing photo edits. Like I really enjoy like adding some magic or adding like fire or whatever. I think it looks so cool. But you also have to ask yourself at some point, like, okay, how far do I want this to go? And like what do I want to show on my page? So yeah.
Yeah, because I remember on the cyberpunk page they had a cosplay competition, and some of the photos were completely photoshopped. Like a girl's cybertronic arm was all Photoshop. So I'm just kind of like, what's the line? Because that's not fair to people that spent a year building their cosplay. Like,
Yeah, that shouldn't be fair for a contest. Like that could be cool, but not for a contest. That's all about your Photoshop skills, and it should have been like, how, I don't know. That's just too much. That's pure
Yeah.
Photoshop. She could be in a white tee, dressed just like how I am, and now I put my face looking like the Terminator and a metal arm, and I can enter that in the contest. But it's all Photoshop.
yeah, like taking selfies and having someone edit it and just calling it all cosplay is kind of like, it's fun. Like you said, it could be a fun edit, but like, when's the line between cosplay and Photoshop?
And that's
Why do you think the company allows that though? Like if they're holding a contest, but they're still accepting people who flat out cheated and put their head on someone else's body. Like why do
Well,
those
they didn't
things?
win. It was a submission, so I guess that's a good thing too. I guess if these companies are aware of things like that, say like New York Comic Con, like you have to be a crafter to enter.
And do a lot of people do that? Like they'll go in there and have somebody do, because I've heard stories about not only cosplayers doing that, but they'll have like somebody make their costume and then won't give them any credit for the making the costume. They'll actually take credit, like, oh yeah, I put this together and it's da da da, and then somebody else took the time to sew it, make it, or craft it, and they won't give them any credit for it. And it's, sometimes I've heard it's usually like bigger cosplayers, like more like I guess what they would call professional cosplayers that are doing it.
Yeah, that's ironic because if you're a professional cosplayer, you should probably
Credit everyone.
Credit too. But it comes down to personal integrity. I mean, if you don't tell the truth, that's on you. And you have to be okay sleeping with that at night. And I think also like you have a lot of, like we were talking about before, you have a lot of simps and they don't care about integrity. They care about TNA, and it is what it is. Again, nothing wrong with that. It's just that that's part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So,
Integrity in cosplay is funny because it's a New York con, and they based all their judges off of girls that the guy had a crush on. Because I knew people who knew him personally, and a whole bunch of stuff came out, and everyone that he picked, bar one person, had actually never made anything in their life, and they were the craft judges, cosplay crafting judges. But they never made a thing in their life. They actually were barely, one of them was barely even a cosplayer. She was a streamer, but he had a massive crush on her. So she was a cosplay judge.
And I've had that issue at New York Comic Con, and it's something that Nadia has talked about on the podcast. It's like one of the things I hate is that when it comes to Comic Con, some of these events that they post, like for like Marvel or DC, they're not picking actual fans. They're picking people who are influencers. So you have a girl on there that put on a Wonder Woman t-shirt and she's just bouncing around, and she has 30K followers, and they give her a spot as a press agent just to have her there, like laughing and talking and not asking any interview questions or asking anything that the fans actually want to see, just because she has 30K listeners and you think she's cute. And I say the same thing about giving certain cosplayers press passes. The press pass is supposed to be for us to interview people, talk to people, get news and everything else. So you're giving it to a cosplayer that's just walking around with the press pass thinking they can get into anything because they have the press pass. And that's the only reason they apply for it. Because I actually heard a cosplayer, oh, this press thing sucks. It didn't get me anywhere. It's like the only thing I got was I got a ticket for free. And I was like, but that's what, now somebody who really is a press agent didn't get that, and you didn't care. You just wanted to walk around and do whatever you wanted or brag that you got something for free. So, like, one of the things I hate is that certain cosplayers are out there doing it for the love. Certain people are just doing it for the attention. Like, some of that I don't even get. Like,
Yeah,
if
like they
there's a,
don't know the hard work that goes into this shit. Like we've been doing this like 10 years. Like we put blood, sweat, and tears into writing, into working. Like it's a job.
Yeah, there are people who've won New York Comic Con competitions, and I guarantee you they have under 5K followers because all of their stuff is armor, pure building, but there's nothing sexual on their page. I mean, I could name three off the top of my head who I could think of who have incredible builds, incredible sewing designs, but they're not going to get the same love because they're not half naked. And that's just the cosplay reality because of who the fan base is. And there's generally more guys who are going to spend money on somebody else. Like, I don't see girls aren't going to go out here and spend money on guys online like that because where's the market? You would have heard about it, but you hear about the simps and the simp armies, and they have literally simp armies. Like, this is a thing. These girls have guys out there who are keyboard warriors in the basement who will spend all day defending them, hoping they're going to get a chance to talk to them one day.
and that's crazy. You mean to tell me there's no like market for guys out there for some of this stuff? I mean, there's no guys that have ever tried to like create a market for that.
It's so far few in between, and if they are, a lot of, I mean, it's like, who's going to be the one paying the money? Who's going to buy it?
Yeah, that's
So
monetizing it.
yeah, and it'll be
Nah.
the people who are going to give them the money are generally will be other guys, and I don't think a whole bunch of other guys are going to want to pay the other guy. There'll be a handful who will, but you'll get like 3 guys for every 25 girls who are doing this because the market, it's just the way it is, and it's not like a gripe on anyone, but it's the market. You know, if there was more of a demand for it to be a supply, but there is none.
What do you guys think as male cosplayers? Like the struggles that you guys face keeping up, or
We're used to it.
Yeah,
As males, I feel like we're just from the jump, from the beginning. We know what we're getting into, and I do my page for myself. I like how it looks. If someone doesn't, I don't care. I like having the rose, and I like how it looks because I already know that I'm never gonna get the same attention as someone else will, and that I'm okay with that. I've already learned to accept it, so it doesn't really bother me. Now I care
yeah,
more about my peers or certain people. Like, I give you an example. We did a shoot, Rebecca and I, recently, and Arizona liked it, and
I
I'd
see.
rather have
Arizona.
I'd rather have Arizona like it than 3,000 people who I'm never gonna meet, who aren't gonna ever give a crap about it, when I can get 200 likes in Arizona like the photo and say great
And
job.
Arizona was in the DMs, like, oh
Yeah,
my
in the
god, that
DM.
was
So we'll see
amazing.
what happens. No, we'll see. But
Pretty
things
cool.
like that, like, you do this for yourself. Like we said earlier, it comes down to the reason why you cosplay. And if you're not cosplaying for yourself, you're gonna get bothered by all of these things. You're gonna look around and be like, damn, how come they can make money off that? How come their craft like that? How come they're doing this charity thing? How about you just shut up and go do it yourself? You know? But people don't want to take charge, so they just point the finger as to why they're not doing something because this person's already doing it. They're already doing it. It's supposed to be fun, cosplay, have some fun, play around. Like, I just don't understand it. Just-
Has there ever been a moment where any of you, something happened or a certain situation, or basically just anything that got you to a point where you honestly considered walking away from it?
When I got focused on likes and on social media, and that was like a big eye-opening moment for me of like I have to change my attitude toward this or I have to walk away. And that was it. Because it's not good for your mental health to feel like you have to constantly compare yourself to other people or feel like your self-worth is determined by how many likes you get on your Instagram picture, because it's not. So that was my moment. Hello.
I have not had that moment, and I think just because I don't care, I genuinely don't care. I am here to have fun. I've made some of my best friends through cosplay, and that's what I care about. My interactions with my friends and people that I actually come to love. That's it. That's what I do it for. It's all fun for me. I can care less if I had one like on my photos.
And you are in control of your page too. So if you realize you're seeing a lot of stuff that you're comparing yourself to or don't really like, you can just unfollow it and just follow a bunch of artists and cosplayers that you know, would like to ever hang out with or be around. You know, surround yourself with positive energy.
So
That is a huge, huge point. Absolutely. So
I've gotten to that point a couple times with like sexual harassment situations where I'm like, why am I putting myself in the position where a stranger can, like, I should just delete my account. That way they don't have a way to message me. I don't know if they exist. And that's just the end of it. And then I was like, well, I shouldn't have to walk away from something I love because there's this random person that doesn't have, you know, something better to do with their day. I just need to figure out how to make it safer for myself. So
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys have blocked creeps before.
Oh, I'm quick. I am quick to block. I'm not even trying to go back and forth. People, if anyone says something that's racist, I'm block. I'm not even going. I'm not doing it.
not entertaining it.
That's just crazy to me because I've never thought of the cosplay community being as this toxic. I know there are people out there that do stupid things. I know they say things and it's just ridiculous, but to some of the extent you guys have shared, I'm like I wouldn't want to. For me, I would just be like, no, I'm not dealing with this. Because sometimes, like, you know, you could be having a bad day and then just get on and be like, all right, let me look at the cosplay community or let me look at some of the stuff on my thing. You have like negative charges, like, all right, just pile more of this shit on top of me while I'm having a bad day. And this is what the community, I don't think, was made for this. I think everybody was just supposed to come in and share great ideas and have fun with it. And it's sad that it's just a small group of people that have taken it to a level of, you know, whatever. Like, this is the first time I've heard of simp army. Like,
Real thing.
there's an army of people who defend one person. I'm like, look, dude, like, you're never gonna meet. Like, if you do meet the person, they're just gonna thank you for your service and keep it moving.
Yeah, like,
thanks for the free money.
Exactly.
Do you think the negative community is bigger than the positive community, or is it like are there more positive people out there, or do you really think like the negative aspect is kind of like overshadowing what you guys are trying to do?
It's hard. So you have to separate it into two worlds to be realistic. You have to separate it into the convention world and the Instagram cosplay world, because Instagram cosplay includes all of the trolls who don't go to cons, who leave these comments on people's pages. At a convention, it's more of it's in person. So it's like there's a lot less negativity in person because people don't really have the balls to go up to you and tell you how they really feel. That's just the reality of it. But they'll do it behind your back. So it'll be a little tension. But online, people can just go on a fake page and spew venom at you. And it's like you don't even know who's doing it. It could be your best friend for doing it on a fake page for all you know. Your biggest supporter could be your biggest hater in cosplay. And very often, like, they are people who you think, who they're like, yeah, I'll teach you this. I'll help you learn this. The minute you start to learn it, they get scared that now you're competition or something like that. Like, oh, now you're going to take their place or mess up their money, or people just get crazy. Instead of just communicating, like, oh, you know what? I'll teach you. I'll make you my apprentice. So one, I can keep my eye on you. But two, I know you're not going to run away like that because we're going to have that kind of relationship and connection. We're going to build a friendship to where you might need an assistant one day. Who are you going to call? I'm not going to charge you for that. I'm here to learn as well. But people get real funny and they burn bridges in the community a lot. And I think a lot of it's because of Instagram more so than in person. People get caught up in the hype, caught up in the likes, caught up in, oh, this guy's editing my photo, but he won't answer my DM, you know. And people get pissed off, like, oh, so you're special because he answers your DM, but he won't answer my DM.
Oh,
as if it matters. If it matters.
I've gotten messages. Hey, can you tell this person to look at my DM? And I'm like, who am I?
Yeah.
I'm not his secretary. No. If he has time to talk to you, he'll respond to you. But literally, I have had people be like, yeah, can you tell him to check his messages? I'm like, no, he's a grown man.
He's busy.
That's still just crazy to me. That's like, I'm not calling somebody. That's like, I have friends that do that, but I understand when friends do it to each other. Like, yo, have you heard from this person? Yo, tell them to call me. But
Oh yeah.
if I don't know you, like, what? No, like, if they're not answering you, there's a reason.
And it's typically because this person, I know they want something. It's not that they're trying to like really reach out. They want something for themselves.
Yeah, a service.
That's just, I don't even know what to say. Is it? I guess the only other thing I can think of is like, is there any like really crazy moments that stand out to you guys that you've gone through? And like everybody has had an experience. Is there a crazy experience that you guys have had that you wish never happened, or like that it's just terrible and it almost made you walk away from the whole cosplay thing?
Oh, there's probably a couple of people I wish I never met, so I wouldn't know things because, like I said earlier, I can't out people because it's not my place to out anybody. So there's a couple of things I wish I didn't see, which I can't even talk about, but it's like, there's a reason why I don't work with certain people anymore. There's a reason why I have to move in silence and step away. And I won't go on Instagram and be like a big public cut. Oh, I'm not working with this person anymore, blah, blah, blah. Too many questions. And then if you're not willing to put proof out there, you're gonna start a war. You're gonna start a war. No matter what, you're gonna start a war. And unless you're willing to go to battle, it's almost not worth it. Not in this community. Because like Rebecca said earlier, nothing gets resolved. There is no authority, there's no sheriff. It's the Wild West. Whatever happens, happens.
That's a hard one because I understand the burden that you have knowing this information and wanting to protect people, but at the same time, yeah, it's not your news to share. And if that person it happened to isn't going to come forward, it's not your story to tell. Yeah. I've seen people, show, enough proof in their stories and things where I'm like, okay, I'm now too cautious to work with that person. And maybe that's not fair. Maybe those things were doctored or whatever, but it was enough for me to say that person's not going to be on my list. I'm not going to tell other people not to work with them, but it was enough for me to kind of write them off. Maybe that's not fair, but maybe that person was doing the right thing by trying to warn other people. It's a hard line.
And if you feel uncomfortable around somebody, no matter how like, oh no, they're good, or no, they're okay, if you feel in your gut like something's not right there, and you don't get a good vibe, or you just from the conclusions that you draw, you say, you know what, it's not for me. You don't know anybody an explanation as to why. You can just say, I don't want that energy around me. You don't need to have that energy around you. I'll
give you a good example of something bad that I could say that happened. I've had male photographers try to push me on to certain females so they can get like the 411 on what's going on with them. Like try to get me to hook up with a girl so I could tell them all about it. And be like, yeah, I'll do the shoot for you, bro. I'll hook it up. I'll put it together. Just like report back to me.
Somebody wants to live vicariously through you for somebody else. Why?
Yes. That is the question that I wish I knew. And if I did, maybe we'd be able to have a conversation about it someday. But like, this person is in a relationship and everything. Like, why would you, like, are you not happy at home? But why are you trying to live through me thinking that I'm going to even tell you anything? Like, why would I want to tell you? We don't even talk like that. Why are you trying to get me to give this locker room talk through me? You're not even doing it yourself. Like, what kind of loser? Like,
they don't want to get in trouble. They want you to take the blame for it.
Yeah, and report back.
So in order for like the possibility of things changing for the community to not become as toxic as it is, where do you think the change needs to start first? Do you think it's like photographers? Do you think it's the mentality of certain people, the people clicking up? Like what has to be the first domino to fall in order for things to start moving forward?
I was gonna say, I think it's having these conversations that people are scared to have or don't want to have. Like, I was gonna say, there's so much dick riding in cosplay, like it's not even funny. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, people will share the shit out of somebody just because they have 100K followers and they didn't even do anything, but they won't share their friends. They refuse to share their friends, or they, like I said, it's just dick riding. What's gonna get me further? What's gonna get me ahead? And it's kind of like, cosplay is supposed to be fun. I'm shooting with this person because I like their cosplay and because this was supposed to be fun. Like I said, like we're dressing up, but like
People,
some
yeah,
people see
they
it
won't
as
share
like,
you. They won't
huh?
share you. Like you said earlier, they won't share you if they can't get followers out of you.
Yeah.
Something like that, you
Like
know.
it's like they just will share like constantly the same people, or just like, dick ride. What's gonna get me ahead, instead of being fair or being a part of the community.
Mhm.
So that's what I think is a start, just having these conversations and being like, hey guys, like, can we like talk about things, or just talking, like I said, like talking about bullying, or talking about shit that's actually happening. Like people need to understand, like, this happens in cosplay. It's not just pretty pictures. So we have to have these uncomfortable conversations. Like they have to be addressed. And then, like, like you guys mentioned, if something is private, like something that you don't want to say for somebody else, then wait for them to say it, but don't lash out and like start a war. It's just, I don't know, there's like a lot of thin lines, but I think mostly it's just being responsible and dealing with consequences.
Yeah, and it's also remembering why we do this. It's because we love it. We put our time and money, sweat, and tears into it. So don't let it, change your values or put you in a situation you don't want to be just for a picture or a feature. Like, just do it because you like it. Do it for yourself. Like, don't get caught up in the hype and wanting more likes or wanting to be shared by this or being shot by this photographer. If you keep putting those, limitations on yourself, you're not going to have a good time. Just have to have fun with it and surround yourself with people who love to have fun with you doing it as well.
I know somebody who had said that they only get into friendships and cosplay to get themselves ahead and to as like a business relationship. And that's not why I do it. I genuinely cherish so many of the people that I've been able to meet through this because I genuinely enjoy doing it. And it's not about oh, this will change my life. I will make a career out of this. If that happens, great. But that's not the real reason why I do it. The real reason why I do it is because I enjoy it and not because I see it as a way to change my life completely, like get me out of my terrible situation that I'm in necessarily. And not even that terrible, just out of your maybe your mundane life or something like that. And it definitely enhances my life and I love having it in my life, but I don't do it just to like as like a business. I don't know. I could never think of it like that, or I could never think of making friendships with people that is the relationship in your head, but in their head they think, oh, I'm that person's friend, I'm their confidant, like, and that's how you treat a friend. But that people don't think that way sometimes. So that's not so good, in my opinion, at least.
I would say definitely we talked about labels and people saying you can't cosplay people because you don't look like them, you're not black, or I've seen this doesn't happen to me because I cosplay a lot of black characters, but people say you're the black this or black that, and no, I'm just Iron Man. I'm not a black Iron Man. I'm just Iron Man.
Right.
And Nick Fury was white in the comics. We don't call Samuel Jackson the black Nick Fury. He's just Nick Fury. And it's a good example. Why in cosplay is it going to be any different?
It's just it's like when like comic book guys say to girls like, oh, you don't know anything about the characters. Like, just let people like let them do their thing. Come on, like, don't tell them that they're the like black Goku or black Naruto or something. It's like, let them be the character.
You have these losers saying that to the girls. I haven't sit here and read through every edition of Sinestro's comic to know his full backstory, 7 different origins. I got a life. I got things to do. I might go on Google and check it out, but come on, like, people need to stop. They need to just cut it out and get it together. Not everyone's gonna love things the way you love them. Not everyone's gonna do things the way you do or have the same obsession that you do. And you have to realize when things are obsessions and when you love something and it's not for everyone. It's okay. Like, you can like what you like, but I don't understand when they do that, when they're like, oh, you don't even know that character. How do you know she doesn't know that character? And are you just trying to start a conversation to get to know her? Well, that's a great way to start a conversation, bro. Like, you're a real winner.
I would look at the person. You don't know the character. They're fictional. Like, what are you talking about? Like, they're not going to come over for Thanksgiving dinner for you. Relax.
Has the pandemic affected anybody as far as doing their cosplay?
Fantastic. We all get a break from each other because we all needed it. Everyone needed to chill out. People were getting too big-headed. Now everyone gets to cool down, find out if you even like cosplaying, because now there's no cons. So why are you doing it? Now you get to really figure it out. You know?
And
I
is
would say,
anybody-
yeah. I would say it affected me, but I didn't have a lot of motivation. There was a lot going on, but even besides the pandemic, and I just, I had other things to focus on. So for me, it was I still enjoyed it, but it was like something that I wasn't gonna, put my focus on doing cosplay.
Goes in the back burner. And a lot of people their cosplay was their life, and that is why I love the fact that the pandemic happened in terms of cosplay, because people needed a chill out button, and they weren't going to take it themselves. Cons will come like that. Every month is a con. You got to put out a new cosplay. People get too caught up in slow down, relax. You can wear the same thing twice. It's okay. It doesn't need to be brand new every time.
Yeah, and I got rid of the pressure of constantly having to put content out. I'm just like, I'm home. I can't do much. But I do appreciate the whole revival of closet cosplays. That was really fun. But take a chill. You're gonna take a little break. It's fine.
Yeah, I think everyone just move at your own pace. Renee's been crafting a lot. We've been talking, and sometimes we're motivated, sometimes we're not. But it's kind of I think that was the good part of COVID, the just being home and taking it in and just getting creative again. I think that was the plus side of it.
On your own time,
Yeah, I found myself, working on things that I know nobody's going to care about but me. But it's okay because I'm going to be the only one that's seeing it. I'm not wearing it at a con where people are going to be, why did you bother making that? It's just for me, rather than if it was a con where a certain movie or episode was coming out, I might feel more pressured to make that costume or that character. And again, that's all in my head. It's pressure I'm creating myself. Nobody made me do that. But that's how my brain used to work in the con schedule world. Now I'm like, you know what, I'm going to make that just because I want it to exist.
Yeah. I think for me, I think that I was spending so much money on cosplay because there was this pressure of new con, you got to get a new cosplay. Oh, well, that cosplay needs a wig. Oh, but you also need color contacts. And it all just adds up. And then, pandemic happens and all of a sudden I'm not working the same way that I used to be. And I'm not going to cons the same way that I used to be. And it was oh, so this is what it's like to have an extra $100 at the end of the month. Go figure. For me, it was an opportunity. It was a reality check a little bit for me to say okay, I need to be more responsible in blending my real life and my cosplay life and know when to take a step back. And I'm good at reusing things and whatever, but still you have that pressure and it's very easy to succumb to that. So
I will say I miss people.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I work from home, so I'm home by myself all day just talking to people through a computer screen. So I think that consistent con schedule was oh, I have something to look forward to where I'm going to get to see, Rebecca and Nadia and all my friends. It's going to be so nice to just hug them and hear what's going on in their life. And I'm not somebody that's just going to make a Zoom meeting just to talk to my friends. To have that scheduled social interaction was really a normal part of my world that I miss.
I would agree with that too.
We would be going to concert next week.
Don't even start.
That might have been the last time I saw some of you, which is crazy.
Yeah.
That was the last real con we had was Castle.
International folks too, maybe Dragon Con or San Diego or New York was the only time I ever saw UK friends or
Yeah.
You think any of the cons are going to come back, or anything coming up? Are you hoping any of the cons are coming back?
Colossal Con East. I want that to come back so bad.
Which one?
Colossal Con East.
Oh, Colossal was so fun. That was my first with you guys.
Is that the water park?
Yes.
Yeah, it's so cool.
What's cool really about the water park is great, but the forest outside, there's a waterfall and everything. That's where you get your best shots. The water park is cool for after, go in the hot tub, get drunk with your friends, great. But there's also the element of shooting, which gets left out when it comes to Colossal Con. People just talk about the water park. They forget that there's a fantastic forest right there.
I also think it's a really great opportunity to have some chill time and like enjoy just being around your cosplay friends with like a little bit of cosplay and like a fun, maybe you do like a swimsuit version or you do, you know, so there's like an opportunity for creativity, but also the, you know, you're not going to wear like a full armor suit in the water park. It just won't happen. So I think it does take a little bit. I mean, you could, I guess, but not for the amount of time that I know I would want to put into something like that.
It would probably melt with how humid it is in there. Remember?
Yeah. I had a wig recurl because of how humid it was, but at the same time, it's like you get to enjoy the friends, you get to enjoy cosplay, and you get to just take like some chill time too. And it's a welcome, right? Especially right before New York Comic Con, it was a welcome experience because it's like 2 weeks before or something like that. So
yep,
it was a good time. So I miss Colossal Con. That's all.
Dragon Con. I need Dragon Con. That's it.
Yeah, I want to go to Dragon Con because I haven't been yet. There are a few cons I haven't been to yet, so Dragon Con would be definitely one of them.
It's a party. That's it. It's a party.
Let's hope they're coming out with any one of these cons. I think no matter what con that comes out, it's gonna be a problem because you can't, you know, everybody's gonna be rushing to go to it, and with the pandemic still going on, I mean, even though they have a vaccine out, there's not gonna be enough people inoculated.
No.
They're gonna sell like an eighth of the tickets or something. Like,
yeah, I've honestly given up from this year.
I'll go in a hazmat suit, like 2023, whatever.
Like bad cosplay with this.
As long as we have costume next year, I'll be okay.
Maybe next year.
So you guys wouldn't attend. You guys wouldn't attend the very, very first one that's back.
Our con's still happening now.
Yeah.
What? A con happened today. Yeah, like Garden State Comic Fest happened today.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
I'm dead serious.
What?
People were there.
Boggles my mind.
Indoor?
I mean, people we know were there. So
Oh wow.
I'm not gonna name the names on the thing, but you know what I mean. Like, it's people are going. You know.
There was one that happened,
the
I think, in Texas. I think maybe one in Florida. I think
Yeah, Florida had
in Texas.
something
There was
recently.
Do they not have restrictions on how many people?
Not in Florida.
Florida doesn't care about the restrictions.
Florida doesn't care about life.
Nah.
Florida's like, you get it. That's your problem.
I would have thought like New Jersey might have cared a little more, but they're having it in the mall.
I'm like, we couldn't have Christmas, but
We can have Garden State Comic Fest. Okay.
This Comic Fest makes people money.
true. Oh,
Christmas dinner with your family does not make you money.
Very true.
That's the worry about all of these cons that I want to come back, like Dragon, New York, San Diego. I'm like, how are they surviving this year and the previous year if they weren't, you know, is there going to be a significant change in what we really get from cons in the future because they lost years of income? Or did they have enough money that it's going to be perfectly fine? Who knows?
You see how New York Comic Con adjusted a lot of things online. $225 for an online meet and greet. Like, they're still milking it.
Yeah, like,
True.
like I'm not
But the
making
smaller cons could be done. You know what I mean? Like the smaller ones who don't have that kind of reach
Yeah.
and volume. How are they going to come back?
Yeah, a lot of people went virtual, but it's hard.
a lot of that virtual stuff sucked. So
I tried. Like, I'll watch some panels here and there, but it's not the same feeling.
Mm-mm.
I felt like everything was recorded and they just like, oh yeah, we're live. No, you're not.
Oh yeah, that's true. Nothing was live.
I mean, it worked for me because I never get to go to panels.
Yeah. For some people, it was like it opened the door to an experience you never were able to have if you lived somewhere else or couldn't afford it. Like, that was great that it really opened the door. You know, like people with disabilities, you know, things like that. So it's great, and I hope they continue that virtual option in the future. But to only have the virtual option is such a drastic change from how you used to experience cons.
Anything else you guys feel like in regards to like toxic or anything we missed or that you want to address in cosplay in general?
I I do have a question. So if any of you met someone, doesn't matter, adult, child, teenager, whoever, if they came up to you and asked you questions about getting into the cosplay world, knowing this whole conversation, knowing all the experience that you guys have, what would you tell a person who wants to get into this for the very first time?
Try and come in with a friend, so you're not by yourself looking for friends. If you even just one friend, so you can bounce off of each other. Yo, you think this person's cool? Yeah, they seem good. All right, we'll go with them. Because when you're there by yourself, you're going to be lonely. I don't care who you are and what you say. You're gonna end up lonely at some point. Because when you're walking through the tunnel and you see all these cliques hanging out, you're gonna wish you had someone to talk to. So try to go with, even if they're not into cosplay, just a friend. Or try to make one friend before you go. Don't go by yourself. You're gonna end up with the wrong people. You have to, and don't rush your relationships with people. Don't think like automatically, oh, this person's amazing. They're great. No, they're cool, but take your time. You know, they're cool. But just because they're dressed up as your favorite character doesn't mean they're gonna be your favorite person. Like, slow down. And people, they lose the grasp of me being Jake and me being Kakashi or me being another person. They think you're that character instead
Yeah.
of looking at you as you for who you are. So I would tell people to just slow down when they get into it. Don't jump into it. Don't rush. And if you can come in with a friend, great.
Back to
I
you.
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris.
I would say don't compare yourself to other cosplayers, like, because that's the first thing that most people do when they see, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna make it to this level. And I don't compare yourself. You have no idea where these people started. They started just like you. Um, that's people have come to me and they get down themselves and they get depressed, but I don't worry about that. Just have fun.
Renee, you wanted to say something?
I'm gonna say so many people have said it throughout the call, but it goes back to, why do you want to cosplay? Like, I think that would be, instead of just saying you should totally do it and here's how to get into it, I'd be like, why do you want to? Okay, perfect. Then this is what you should do. Like, I'm in it to make friends. I'm in it because I want to see this panel. I'm in it for whatever reason. There's ways to get you where you want to go depending on what your goal is. But if it's just I want to be famous, like, this is not the sport for you.
Go to TikTok.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, do it because you love it. Do it because it's your passion. You're into geekdom. You're into comics. You're into putting in work and like putting something together, and that feeling of like, oh my god, like I made this. Like, that's a great feeling. That kind of brings me into a question. I was gonna say, what do you guys think of like the direction cosplay is going with things like TikTok and like new people coming into the community? What are your thoughts on that?
On cosplay becoming mainstream,
Yeah.
basically.
Well, I mean, it's been, but now it's on
Yeah,
like
but now
another
now
level.
it's like,
Mainstream,
social media.
commercial commercial is becoming commercial now.
Yeah.
Because this is where I try not to sound like a gatekeeper. Like, I feel like I'm like, do you cosplay because you like it or because you're viral?
Well, let's think about it like this. So let's turn cosplay into sports. Somebody might play the sport, but they're not a professional athlete. So then it's like, where do we separate cosplay in terms of like, what is a professional cosplayer? Like, what does that even mean?
You get paid money to do it.
Right. But they're still licensed characters. So who's actually making their own OC and becoming famous off of that? Nobody. Everyone's taking properties and slightly adjusting it or making it exactly the same to commercialize it, but it's still not enough to where they're gonna get, a copywritten thrown at them for the most part. But it's happening now. Like, there are people who are getting logos taken down, and Warner Brothers and stuff are reaching out, and Marvel will reach out to you if you're milking a little too much money. So there has to be some kind of authority that comes in to separate, like, and otherwise we're just, like I said, the Wild West. Anything goes. If you get away with it, you get away with it. You're only a thief if you get caught. That's what it feels like in the community.
True. And the mouse doesn't play.
think it's, on one hand, it's good because I think that growing, like, my generation, maybe generations before mine, you know, it was like not cool to be nerdy. It was like not like necessarily like, oh, you like anime? Okay. But, and I think for me, the biggest shift came when like the Avengers movies started coming out, like Iron Man and Captain America, and that, you know, and the Avengers. And it was like all of a sudden it was cool. And in a way, I'm glad because it gives the kids of today and the younger people of today the opportunity to genuinely express their enjoyment of something without feeling like, "Oh, I'm not going to look cool and make friends if you like this thing." So I think that is good, like that it's becoming mainstream enough that like it's cool, like it's okay to do it. You're not going to get, hopefully you're not going to get like teased as much. But you know, with anything getting popular, you also have some unsavory people coming into it. Just like there can be unsavory people in music and unsavory people in sports, in any kind of hobby that people can have, or in art. So I think that you always need to, like we've said, you have to come back to not only personal integrity, but also like, why do you do the thing you do? So.
Yeah, it's definitely cooler now, geek culture, because did we not all have that one kid who Naruto ran down the hallway, who everyone laughed at him, was like, what is this loser doing? Like, where now there'll be 5 kids doing it and everyone will be laughing, but no one's going to be like, oh, what is this? Back in the day, 10, 20 years ago, come on. Everyone laughed at that kid. You all had one kid who you seen with his hands out running down the hallway. Everyone laughed at him. At least in New York, they were ruthless.
This is true.
But now it's like no one's really gonna laugh. And one person might, but someone will tell him, "Yo, shut up! Why are you laughing? Like that's a dope show, bro."
Right.
Yeah, on the flip side, it's definitely cool having like all these new people you can talk to about the stuff you like. And I remember back in the day, you could only find like an anime t-shirt in Hot Topic, and like the design was crazy. And now you can go to Target and find something, you know, geeky, which is great. So I appreciate all the content we're getting. You know, you're still gonna have like your OGs who remember back in the day our struggle of like finding 6 parts on YouTube to finish an episode. And now it's like, yeah. And now it's just like, it's all over the place. I love it. I dig it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say like I guess the upside, because I was gonna say like, yeah, the mean girls are joining now, but whatever. But the upside is, like you said, more access. So now like there's so many companies selling wigs and so many companies selling like props or like Warbler or like foam or like anything that we need. So that's the upside to it. Like the cosplay community is there's so much access now. So
oh yeah, you look at these cosplays like pre 2014, and they look pretty bad. Let's be honest. But now you can buy one on Amazon. You can go on Amazon and get a cosplay that is movie quality.
I'm totally dating myself, but like 10 years ago at cons, you either had a Party City costume or you paid thousands of dollars for a Batman suit, and that was it. Now everybody can buy 3D printers and crickets. And YouTube is crazy, you know, teaching people how to make things. Like it's just opened the door for everybody in between to be able to participate if they wanted to. So that's definitely a positive. The other thing I will say, as much as, you know, TikTok, I'm not good at it, I don't understand it, I love watching it because there's so many people doing characters that I love that I'm like, I would have never thought to do that. Like she really understands like the character that I see it, and I want to connect with her now. Like I think it's opened the door for a new medium to celebrate the characters that I love. So while I don't understand it, and it probably will never be something I'm good at, I love doing that.
Right now, I'm waiting to see if one of these cosplayers are going to do like the silhouette challenge with one of these characters, because I'm like,
it's already been done. It's already been done.
I feel like they're on these challenges before I even know it's a thing.
Yeah, I just found out about it Friday. I'm like, what the hell is a silhouette challenge? And then somebody showed me. I was like, oh, okay.
Every day there's a new challenge.
Yeah. So I'm guessing the busting challenge is over.
The what?
The busting challenge is over. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say, like, you know, for someone that's like learning all this, you know, with a fresh pair of eyes, I appreciate, you know, like the superhero movies and the superhero TV shows, because there was a time where you guys were saying earlier where people would give you flack for dressing as a certain character if you didn't racially fit that profile. But now with all the diversity in the TV shows, like we have a black Batwoman now. We had a black Kid Flash, that was live action. There are Spanish characters, Spanish superheroes now. So the young kids that are growing up that are starting the cosplay, they are, to them, multi-diverse comic book characters is a normal thing. Like, they're not going to look at a costume and be like, well, I'm not that race, I shouldn't put this on. This is like, oh, there's a Latin superhero on TV right now. Like we have a black Batwoman, so it's not weird to people. And I think that will help.
Woman,
Yeah, like things like that, it'll help going forward as far as how people view the costumes before they decide to get into them.
100%.
Well, I don't know if anybody else has anything else to add or they have questions about. I want to give everybody a chance to plug themselves if they want before we call it off. If anybody wants to start and just give a shout out and the stuff that's going to go on, so when people see this, they'll know when to follow you, how to find you, and view some of your work. So whoever wants to start, just go.
Renee, you're next to me, so you start.
I'm mainly on Instagram. I'm on other platforms, but I don't do much with them. But yeah, check out Magic Wheelchair. They do really cool things.
Ava?
I'm on IG as Channel 3 Cosplay. If I ever figure out TikTok, I'll probably be on there soon. But right now, just IG for me.
And Chris?
You can find me on IG at Cosplays by Shinobi and on TikTok as well.
And Rebecca?
You can find me on Instagram as Rebsdella Disco, and don't be afraid to reach out if you have a prop, wig, art question. I'm always happy to help.
Jake?
You can find me on Instagram at Jake_cosplays. Don't forget 2024, Madara 2024, make Konoha great again. Let's get it. My Naruto fans, they'll understand.
Well, Jarrell, you want to plug your last stuff in?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Red Eyes Black Fire. That's Red Eyes with a Z. Twitter, Red Eyes Media. And on YouTube, where I do reviews for superhero TV shows, movies, etc. You can find me at Red Eyes Entertainment. Again, that's Red Eyes with a Z. We got Batwoman coming up on Sunday, and then we have WandaVision coming up next week.
And last but not least, you can find me on Otakus and Geeks. You can also find me on Chronicles Podcast and my last podcast that's in hiatus right now, which is Beer and Goods, where we talk about different IPAs and news of the whole whatever's going on out in the world right now. But you can also check me out on Chronicles, where we talk about funny stories and bring up whatever current events are out there. But other than that, that's it. I want to thank everybody who joined today and to give your opinion. I appreciate all of you. I just want to give you guys a hand. I don't know where my applause button is. Right? which I haven't been able to pick out half the stuff that's on there. But I just want to thank everybody. And I want to say, anytime you guys want to come on to the Otakus and Geeks podcast and just chop it up with us and talk about anything, you are more than welcome. But thank you for bringing this podcast together. I want to thank Nadia for putting this together, because she's put a lot of stuff together and she wanted to come out and tell us, like, hey, like, this is something that's going on in the community and maybe this can help somebody out there. So I want to thank everybody today for joining us today.
Thanks, guys.
All right. So, guys, I appreciate you. And this is Sean from Otakus and Geeks, along with everybody. Thanks a lot. And hey, have a good one.